For 6 years I thought I had everything: love, laughter, and a husband who made every morning feel like a movie scene. In those early days, it felt like the world had conspired to make me happy. Every morning I'd wake up to the smell of coffee brewing just the way I liked it, and he would hand me a small note with a silly joke or a sweet message that made me laugh before my feet even touched the floor. Weekends were our escape from the world. We would curl up on the couch under warm blankets, talking for hours about everything and nothing. He listened to every word I said, remembered every tiny detail, and celebrated every small victory with me as if my happiness was the only thing that mattered. I couldn't imagine life without him. He noticed the little things about me: my favorite flowers, the songs that made me smile, the way I twirled my hair when I was thinking. He remembered how I liked my pasta, how I took my tea, even the way I laughed at my own terrible jokes. It made me feel seen, truly seen, in a way that felt rare and precious. We shared dreams and plans for the future, imagining a home filled with warmth, maybe children's laughter, and quiet nights spent talking until dawn. We had our rituals, our private jokes, our little world that felt untouchable. I trusted him completely. I believed in the promises he whispered in the dark and the comfort of the life we were building together. Back then I genuinely thought nothing could ever go wrong. I thought love like ours was unbreakable. I never imagined that behind the smiles and laughter, something was quietly starting to crack, something I would only discover years later. At first the changes were almost unnoticeable. A new cologne I hadn't bought. A quiet sigh when I asked how his day was. Little things that I tried to dismiss, telling myself I was imagining it all. But deep down I felt the shift, subtle like a small crack in a wall that slowly spreads without anyone noticing. He started coming home later than usual. He was distracted, staring at his phone for hours, smiling at messages that weren't meant for me. I asked, gently at first and then more insistently, if something was wrong. He would shake his head, force a smile, and assure me that everything was fine. And for a while I wanted to believe him. I clung to the comfort of the life we had built, convincing myself that this was just stress, just work, just a phase. Even our conversations began to change. The laughter that once filled our evenings became quieter, interrupted by pauses I couldn't explain. He would avoid my gaze, his hands fidgeting when I asked about his day. And then came the small lies, the ones that didn't matter at first, the ones I convinced myself didn't matter. "I'm meeting a friend," he'd say, but the timing never added up. Texts would appear on his phone, quickly closed whenever I walked into the room. I tried to ignore it, tried to brush off the growing unease, but the truth has a way of creeping in no matter how hard you push it away. That feeling, that gnawing, sinking feeling, told me that something was wrong. I just didn't know what yet, and I certainly didn't know how it would shatter everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and the life we had built together. One night, everything became painfully clear. He had stepped into the shower and his phone buzzed on the table. I froze when I saw it light up, my heart pounding in my chest. At first I told myself to look away to respect his privacy. But something inside me couldn't. I needed to know. I needed the truth. When I unlocked the phone, my stomach sank. A message appeared, a single heart emoji. My name wasn't attached to it. It wasn't from me. And then I saw more. Little conversations, whispers of affection, inside jokes meant only for the two of them. Words that he had once used for me now being typed to someone else. My hands trembled and the room felt colder than it had ever been. I remember sitting there for what felt like hours, staring at the screen, trying to make sense of it. Denial tried to take over. Maybe it was innocent, maybe it was nothing. But the more I read, the more undeniable it became. The warmth I had felt for him, the safety of our life together, all of it felt like it was slipping through my fingers. I didn't scream. I didn't confront him right away. Instead, I felt this quiet, burning rage building inside me. It wasn't about yelling or crying. It was about realizing that everything I had trusted, everything I had believed in, had been a lie. That night, I didn't just discover his affair. I discovered a side of him I had never imagined, a side that betrayed not only me but the love we had shared. And in that moment, I knew one thing for certain. My life was about to change forever and there was no going back. I didn't confront him right away. I could have screamed, cried, or begged for an explanation, but I realized something. He didn't deserve the satisfaction of my tears. I watched him lie to my face, pretending everything was normal, and it made my blood boil. Every word he spoke felt hollow, every excuse rehearsed. I saw the same man I had loved, but now he was unrecognizable. A stranger hiding behind the mask of familiarity. That night as he slept beside me, I lay awake thinking about all the moments he had stolen from me, the trust he had broken. I realized that yelling, pleading, or begging would never fix what he had destroyed. I needed something stronger. Something that would make him and everyone else see the truth without me having to say a single word. I started planning quietly, every detail calculated in my mind. I wanted him to feel the weight of his betrayal in a way he could never ignore. But it wasn't just about him. It was about reclaiming my power, about showing myself that I wasn't weak, that I could rise above this. I thought about the things he had loved the most, the little things that connected us, that made our marriage feel intimate and personal. I knew that if I used them, I could turn his own obsession against him. I imagined the moment I would reveal everything, not with anger, not with shouting, but with a calm that would make the shock even more unbearable. That night I didn't just lie awake. I made a silent promise to myself. He would never see me cry. He would never feel like he had the upper hand again. And when the time came, everyone would know exactly what he had done. The betrayal wouldn't stay hidden any longer. He once told me that red was the color I looked dangerous in. I laughed then, thinking he was joking. But now that color wasn't just a memory. It had become my weapon. The red lace set, the one he loved seeing me in, the one I had worn for him countless nights. It would be the centerpiece of my revenge. I held it carefully in my hands, remembering every moment tied to it. Every laugh, every whisper, every promise he had made while I wore it. And now, every memory felt like a dagger twisted by betrayal. The intimacy it once symbolized was gone, replaced by a quiet fury that I could no longer contain. It wasn't just about the garment. It was about what it represented: trust, love, and a life I had believed in. By the time I finished preparing, I knew exactly what I had to do. I would take the thing he adored the most, the thing that once brought him pleasure, and place it somewhere he couldn't ignore it. Somewhere that would make him feel the same shock and humiliation he had caused me. I imagined the moment again and again, letting it burn in my mind. The red lace set wouldn't just expose him. It would tell the story of every lie, every betrayal, without me saying a single word. I would let it speak for me. And when that moment came, it wouldn't just be his world that crumbled. It would be the world of everyone who thought I didn't know. In that quiet, deliberate planning, I felt a sense of power I hadn't felt in months. For the first time since discovering the affair, I felt calm, focused, ready. Because the red lace set was more than just lingerie. It was justice waiting to happen, and I was about to deliver it. A month later, his sister's engagement brought everyone together. Family, friends, and, of course, her. The woman he had claimed was just a friend. My heart raced as I walked into the beautifully decorated hall, pretending everything was normal. Smiles were exchanged, hugs were given, laughter filled the room, but beneath it all I carried a storm. I watched him from across the room, the man I had once trusted completely. He didn't notice me at first, too busy talking, too wrapped up in his own world. And then I saw her laughing at one of his jokes, leaning a little too close. My hands tightened around the small gift bag I had brought, the one containing the red lace set. Every step I took felt deliberate, measured. I moved through the crowd, exchanging polite hellos, keeping my calm. But inside, a fire was burning. I imagined the moment when she would open it, the expressions that would flash across faces, the silence that would follow. The quiet satisfaction of watching the truth hit without a word from me. It wasn't about revenge for the sake of anger. It was about clarity, exposing a hidden truth that needed to be seen. I had rehearsed this moment in my mind countless times, and now it was real. Everyone's attention would shift, if only for a second, and in that moment, the lie he had built around us would collapse. As I approached them, I felt a strange mix of nerves and exhilaration. The room was unaware of the storm about to unfold. And when I finally handed over the bag, I could see the curiosity in their eyes, not knowing that inside, a piece of our shattered trust awaited to reveal everything. When she opened the gift, I held my breath, standing just a step behind. Her hands fumbled with the wrapping, curiosity written all over her face. And then, she saw it. The red lace set. Every detail, every delicate piece. The thing he had once adored, the thing that had symbolized our intimacy. Her smile froze. Her eyes widened. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. I could feel the weight of the silence pressing down on everyone in the room. And then she read the note I had carefully placed inside. Since he prefers you in my color, it's only fair you keep it. The words were simple, but the impact was anything but. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Faces turned toward him. His laughter, once confident, stumbled into a strangled cough. The man who had lied to me, who had betrayed everything we shared, now looked smaller than I had ever seen him. I watched the shock settle across her face, the disbelief in his eyes, and the awkward, uneasy silence that hung between them. It wasn't cruelty, it was the truth laid bare in the most poetic way I could imagine. The intimacy he had stolen from me, the lies he had woven, all came crashing into that room in one unforgettable moment. In that instant I felt a mixture of satisfaction and sorrow. Sorrow for the love that had been, satisfaction in reclaiming a part of myself he had tried to destroy. I didn't need to say a word. I didn't need to argue or shout. The red lace set had done all of that for me. And as the room slowly came back to life, I knew one thing. He would never see me the same way again, and neither would anyone who had witnessed the truth unfold before their eyes. He followed me outside, panic in his eyes, words tumbling out of his mouth that I didn't even hear. Begging, apologizing, promising things he had broken 1,000 times before. But I didn't turn back. I didn't even glance at him. The moment for explanations, for excuses had long passed. I walked away with calm in my chest and fire in my veins. For the first time in months I felt a strange, liberating peace. I realized that his lies, his betrayal, and his attempts to control the narrative no longer had any power over me. I had taken back what was mine. Not just the red lace set, but my dignity, my strength, and my voice. Behind me, I could hear the murmurs of the family, the awkwardness that had settled into the room. I didn't need to witness it. I knew the truth had been delivered, and I had done it on my own terms. No shouting, no tears, no drama, just quiet, deliberate justice. In that moment I understood something crucial. Betrayal cannot steal your identity unless you allow it to. I had been hurt, yes, but I was no longer the person who would break beneath it. I had reclaimed myself piece by piece, and nothing he did could take that away. And as I walked into the cool night, leaving behind the shattered illusions and the lies, I finally felt free. Free from him, free from the deceit, free from the fear of what I could no longer control. Life would go on, and I would go on with it, stronger, wiser, and unshaken. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't humiliation or anger. Sometimes it's walking away with your head held high, knowing that you are whole again, and that they are the ones left to face the consequences of their own choices. Looking back, I realized this wasn't just about him or the affair. It was about me, my strength, my self-respect, and the choices I make when life tries to break me. Betrayal can cut deep, but it doesn't have to define who we are. It's in how we rise, how we take back control, and how we choose to move forward that our true power is revealed. I didn't expose him to shame him. I exposed him to remind myself of something important. That I am worthy of love, honesty, and respect. That no one has the right to diminish my value or manipulate my heart. The red lace set was never just a piece of clothing. It was a symbol of trust, of intimacy, and ultimately, of the life I refused to let him destroy. Now, when I think of that day, I don't feel anger anymore. I feel clarity. I feel freedom. I feel proud of the woman who refused to be silenced, who refused to let deceit and lies define her story. Life has a way of teaching harsh lessons, but it also gives us the chance to reclaim ourselves, to rise stronger than before, and to never look back at those who tried to break us. If you've ever been betrayed, remember this. The most powerful revenge isn't humiliation. It isn't anger or tears. It's reclaiming your life, your dignity, and your peace. It's choosing yourself when others choose to betray you. And sometimes the quietest actions, the calmest, most deliberate decisions, speak louder than any words ever could. Because at the end of the day, the only person you need to prove anything to is yourself. And when you do that, nothing else matters.